Hello, curious minds, and welcome to The Deep Dive.
Great to be diving in.
You're tuned into AI-deas, which is proudly part of the Good Business podcast.
Hosted by the PHINMA-DLSU Center for Business and Society.
And our mission, as always, is championing business as a force for good. Oh, and just so you know, this deep dive, it's an AI-generated podcast.
That's right, carefully crafted using Notebook LM to bring you insights directly from the sources we're looking at.
Exactly. And today we are plunging into a really timely and thought-provoking article. It's from the Managing for Society column for the Manila Times.
And the piece is titled The Quiet Series. Very intriguing.
It really is. It promises to sort of unravel some of the most pervasive and, let's be honest, sometimes confusing workplace buzzwords we've seen lately.
Terms flying around everywhere.
You've probably heard quiet quitting, right? But what about quiet cracking or quiet firing? We're not just going to define them. We want to explore where they came from, what they really mean for employees, for employers.
And maybe what they tell us about the unspoken stuff happening at work these days.
Definitely. We're looking beyond the buzzwords into the deeper implications, so get ready for hopefully some aha moments that will leave you genuinely well-informed.
Yeah, and what's fascinating right off the bat is how these terms, they seem new, but often they're just putting a label on workplace dynamics that've been around for ages, really.
That's a great point.
It makes you wonder, why now? Why these specific labels? And why the quiet part? Does it say something about how we're communicating? Or maybe how we're not communicating?
That is the perfect springboard. Let's dive into this quiet landscape. These terms, they just exploded, didn't they? Created a whole new vocabulary.
They really did.
It all seemed to kick off around mid-2022 with quiet quitting. It wasn't just a phrase, it felt like a movement almost.
Absolutely. Went viral on TikTok, then suddenly it was everywhere. Mainstream news, workplace chats.
You couldn't escape it.
And the World Economic Forum, back in 2022, they defined it pretty simply. Doing what's required, and then getting on with your life, having more work-life balance.
Right, so it wasn't necessarily about slacking off, which was a common misconception.
Not always, no. For many, it was a conscious shift, pushing back against that expectation of constant overwork, often unpaid, and reclaiming personal time, setting boundaries.
Protecting well-being over just grinding relentlessly, challenging that above and beyond culture, especially when it wasn't recognized.
Exactly. It was about boundaries.
So fundamentally, quiet quitting was about reclaiming time, setting healthier limits, maybe redefining your relationship with your job. It definitely sparked conversations about burnout.
Huge conversations. But as the article notes, the trend didn't stop there. It expanded fast. You even had AI tools like ChatGPT helping identify more quiet terms popping up.
Which just shows how fast language evolves to capture these workplace feelings, right?
Absolutely. So what was next? How did things shift after quiet quitting took hold?
Well, the response came pretty quickly. Late 2022, we started hearing about quiet firing.
Yes, the employer side of the coin.
Exactly. Gallup described it in 2022 as managers basically, failing to provide adequate coaching, support, or career development.
Effectively creating an environment where an employee feels they have no choice but to leave.
Yeah.
But without that direct, difficult conversation.
Yeah, no firing talk, just neglect.
Yeah.
It's subtle, but sounds incredibly powerful. Managerial disengagement, you called it.
That's a good way to put it. It's not an outright dismissal. It's more like making someone's role stagnant, maybe invisible, unsatisfying, hoping they'll just walk away.
That is a really unsettling counterpoint, isn't it? Employees quietly quitting, employers quietly firing. It suggests a real breakdown in trust.
And transparency, definitely.
So from the manager's side, why go down that road? Is it just avoiding conflict, or are there bigger pressures?
It's usually a mix, I think. Avoidance is part of it. Maybe lack of training in handling tough conversations, maybe fear of legal issues.
Or maybe thinking it's somehow kinder, which seems misguided.
It does. Systemically, it can be tied to things like hiring freezes, budget cuts, or wanting to reduce headcount without paying severance.
Right, the costs.
But the hidden cost is huge. It damages the trust not just with that one employee, but with everyone who sees it happen. It signals that honesty isn't valued.
It creates anxiety, distrust. Yeah, I can see that. Okay, so then early 2023, we get quiet hiring. Another employer strategy, but this one sounds maybe less negative.
Less overtly negative, perhaps. The Society for Human Resource Management defined it in 2023. It's about filling talent gaps. but internally.
How so?
By shifting existing employees into new roles, maybe expanding their current duties or bringing in contractors or part-timers instead of full-time hires.
So it's agile, meets immediate needs without a big recruitment drive.
Exactly. Efficient short-term.
Yeah.
But it does raise questions. Are companies really investing in developing their internal people long-term or just plugging holes?
That's a good question, because shifting someone might fill a gap, but could it also burn them out? Pile on work without support.
Precisely. It could inadvertently lead to quiet quitting for that employee if it's not managed well, if there's no clear path or recognition.
Interesting. Okay, and keeping with employer trends, late 2023 brought quiet cutting. This one sounds sharper.
It is. Forbes in 2023 didn't mince words, called it an old practice with a new name and a controversial leadership strategy.
An old practice. So what is it?
It involves reassigning workers, often to less desirable roles, hoping they'll quit on their own.
Ah, so the goal is attrition, specifically to avoid severance costs.
That's the implication. And this is where the ethics get really murky. Sure, it might save money up front, but it tells your entire workforce that transparency is optional, that loyalty might be met with manipulation. It just poisons the well, culturally speaking.
Yeah, breeds cynicism. Reduces retention of the people you actually want to keep. Sounds like a short-sighted win with long-term pain.
Definitely. Devastating impacts on human capital, on reputation.
So looking at quiet firing, hiring, cutting, it feels like a lot falls back on the individual employee, doesn't it? Navigating these unspoken shifts, the uncertainty.
That's a really sharp observation. It points to a workplace where clarity and direct talk seem to be missing. Employees are left reading tea leaves, making big decisions without open dialogue.
Feeling disempowered, isolated. Yeah.
Okay, so after that run of sometimes difficult employer trends, it's maybe a relief that the pendulum swung back a bit towards employees reclaiming well-being.
Yes. Quiet thriving. That started gaining traction from 2023 into early 2024. It feels like a necessary countermove.
It does. Newco Talent Academy in 2024 described it as a kind of silent rebellion, but a healthier, proactive one.
How does it work?
Employees doing this are actively, intentionally seeking joy, purpose, growth within their jobs, while really guarding their well-being.
So not necessarily leaving, but making the current situation work better for them.
Exactly. It's self-advocacy. Finding fulfillment without needing a dramatic exit. Actively shaping your daily work experience, protecting your mental energy.
That sounds really empowering, actually. A way to cope in demanding times. But then, the article brings us to the latest term, quiet cracking.
Yeah, and this one sounds worrying.
It really does, hinting at something much worse than just quitting. Almost the opposite of thriving.
It is, and it's a serious red flag. The Economic Times in 2025 called it a new workplace crisis.
A crisis? Wow.
Yeah, with huge financial costs, they estimated $438 billion globally and severe damage to workers' health. Business Insider likened it to silent burnout or even a breakdown under constant stress.
So it's internalized pressure reaching a breaking point.
That's the idea. Immense, often unsaid, pressure building up until it becomes a major health issue, hitting productivity, everything. A slow collapse happening under the surface.
Okay, this is where the article makes such a crucial point, I think. It says, look, these labels are new, but most of these practices, they're old news.
Been around forever, just maybe not named this way.
Right. The post-pandemic world, the complexity, it's just led to this explosion of new labels. Like, we needed new words for old pains, maybe, or to finally voice things we couldn't before.
I think that's spot on. The creation of these buzzwords says something deep. It reflects a need to articulate these, well, unspoken undercurrents in the workplace.
It's not just naming, it's validating.
Exactly. If you're experiencing, say, quiet firing, having that term can make you feel less alone, less crazy.
Yeah.
It gives a name to the experience, even if it doesn't fix it.
Which leads to that big question. Why do we need these catchy terms now for things that have existed for so long? Why can't we just talk about them directly?
Yeah, well, the indirection.
And that, I think, hits the absolute core insight of this Manila Times piece. The author mentions talking to his wife while writing it, and she asked these simple, but wow, really penetrating questions.
What did she ask?
Basically, why is it all quiet? Is it a failure of communication? Have we forgotten how to express our thoughts and feelings openly?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that cuts right through it.
Doesn't it? It feels like the missing piece.
It absolutely does. It
Yeah.
connects everything. The article strongly suggests that's the real issue behind this whole quiet series. These aren't just trendy words.
They're symptoms.
Symptoms. Signs of a workplace culture where silence feels safer than speaking up. A fundamental breakdown in open, honest talk.
Between bosses and staff, leaders and teams, even colleagues.
Yes. When people fear payback, or being ignored, or getting fired for speaking truth, silence becomes the default strategy. But it kills trust. It kills innovation.
And productivity long term. That's such a powerful thought for everyone listening to consider. Are these just fads or symptoms of something much deeper in how we work together?
Makes you wonder what else is bubbling under the surface, doesn't it?
For sure. The article even mentions asking ChatGPT about future quiet trends. If this communication gap stays, what might come next?
Well, ChatGPT was cautious, naturally, saying each term reflects a real issue. But it threw out possibilities like quiet returning.
Maybe about hybrid work returns?
Could be. Or quiet skipping, avoiding tasks quietly. Quiet stacking, silently taking on more work. Quiet surviving, just getting by. And quiet drifting, lacking direction.
It just reinforces the idea, doesn't it? If the communication vacuum exists, we'll keep finding new ways to cope and new labels for those ways.
Continuously.
So the massive question for us, and really for you listening, is now that we know about these things, now that we see the communication breakdown, are we actually doing anything about it?
Good question.
Are we trying to build environments where people can speak up, where there's dialogue, respect, real well-being support?
Or are we just waiting for the next buzzword to hit TikTok, observing symptoms instead of fixing the cause?
The responsibility really falls on everyone to try and bridge these silences, doesn't it?
It really does.
Okay, that is a lot to chew on from the Quiet series. It's a huge reminder that under the buzzwords, there are real challenges, but also real opportunities for how we handle work, communication, and well-being.
The core message feels pretty clear. Until we relearn how to talk to each other honestly, employers to employees, leaders to teams, colleagues to colleagues, these quiet trends are just going to keep popping up.
Sadly true. So what stood out most to you from our dive today? And maybe more importantly, how can you personally start fostering more open, authentic communication in your own workplace? Even small steps count.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.
Ultimately, this quiet series isn't just about terms. It's like holding up a mirror to our professional relationships, isn't it?
Yeah.
It pushes us beyond just naming problems. It urges us to actively build cultures where transparency, feedback, psychological safety, where those things are actually valued.
That's the only way to turn these quiet struggles into, well, productive dialogue.
And build stronger, healthier workplaces for everyone involved.
Well said. We really hope this deep dive offered some valuable insights and maybe sparked some reflection for you. Remember, you've been listening to AI-deas,
Part of the Good Business Podcast.
proudly presented by the PHINMA-DLSU Center for Business and Society, always with the mission of business as a force for good.